Good morning. If you have decided to study to become a professional hypnotherapist, keep watching our training videos on hypnosis. Hypnosis is a powerful technique with which you can help and improve the quality of life of a large number of your future patients. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and also you can download several ebooks also free. Rapid Hypnosis Induction Techniques Part 1. Start Technique, Fleischer Technique, Interlock Enhanced Method, Coin Method, Wallman Gravitation Technique, Arm Levitation Method, Watkins Method or Posture Swing Method, Kroger's Confusion Method. Various induction techniques. Next, we will look at various and sundry trance induction techniques. There are as many techniques as there are hypnotherapists. Therefore, we recommend that each practitioner builds his or her own induction method, thus creating his or her own style. Technique of the star. With the person, the object of the induction, seated comfortably, is asked to take a few deep breaths, while being instructed to look up at a specific point on the ceiling. Imagine that you are looking at a black circle on the ceiling. Within it, visualize a 5-pointed star. The star is of an intense and luminous brilliance. A very intense brilliance. Now the star falls away from the black circle that surrounds it and falls slowly and gently towards your eyes. The intensity of the light becomes greater and greater as it continues to slowly approach your eyes. The luminosity is so intense that it reminds you of what happens if you look directly at the sun. The star gives off a blinding light which makes your eyelids tired. Your eyes become tired and fatigued as if you were looking at the sun. A powerful luminosity breathes your eyes. They become more and more intensely fatigued. The closer the star comes to your eyes close, they close. It is impossible to resist such brightness. The heavy eyelids fall and close. They are closed. They are closed. Your eyes are closed, and in your imagination, you can still see the bright star. Now it is retreating. It is getting smaller and smaller in your mind. It is moving away, smaller. Watch it in your mind, becoming a small, bright dot, very bright in the black of your mind. Your whole body is becoming very heavy as you continue to watch the star in your mind. It is now a bright dot. Watching it relaxes you. A pleasant drowsiness begins to take over. You fall asleep, watching the star in your mind. The sleep becomes intense. A great drowsiness and relaxation invites you. Sleep. A deep and intense sleep seizes you. Sleep deeply, deep sleep, very deep, deeper and deeper and deeper. Methods of interlacing hands. An inductive method which can also be used as a suggestion test with surprisingly effective results. The subject is asked to sit comfortably in a chair or armchair with his eyes closed. With his eyes closed and without giving him any explanation prior to the test, we address him in the following terms. Please join your hands. Interlock your hands, crossing the finger of one hand and the other, without the thumbs touching. Very good. Now listen to me attentively, while I try to make you feel the same way. Now listen to me carefully, as you try to get a mental picture of what your interlocked hands look like. Try to feel each and every point of contact between your fingers. Feel the pressure they exert on each other. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to start squeezing your hands together, but stop making an instant pressure when I tell you. Start a gradual pressure. Slowly press your hands together, a little bit more each time, until they are tightly pressed together, as much as you can squeeze them. At this point, we gently grasp with our hands his two clasped hands. From now on, each time we offer a suggestion such as, your hands are firmly clasped together, we'll exert a slight pressure with our hands. Such a maneuver usually goes unnoticed by the subject, who is busy following our indications. Very good. Start now to exert a gradual pressure on your hands, like this. Very good. Now you will feel that all the points of contact between your fingers seem to become one. A single point of pressure between your two hands. Your hands are becoming firmly joined, as if your fingers are melting together, and you keep squeezing in your hands tighter and tighter. A little bit more, even more, even more, even more. Imagine your fingers filled with a powerful glue that is binding them together, sticking more and more tightly together. Now your fingers are fused. It's as if you only have one hand. They are fused and glued together. Your hands are so tightly bound together that if you tried to separate them, it would be impossible. Feel them in your imagination. Fused, glued, completely glued together. At this point, we will observe the subject's fingers white, due to the momentary interruption of blood flow caused by the pressure exerted. Many subjects, when they hear us tell them something like, your hands are so close together that if you try to separate them, you could not. They try to verify this state with some timid movement. The observation of this detail is important because it indicates if we can advance in the experience by launching a challenge with the aim of going deeper. The challenge should not be launched if the subject tried to check whether or not he or she was able to separate his or her hands. Your hands are so completely stuck together, so tightly bound together that it is impossible for you to separate them. When I count to 3, I want you to make every effort to pull your hands apart. You will quickly realize that it will be totally impossible to do so. Totally impossible, because the harder you try, the more effort you put into pulling them apart, the more tightly they will stick together. The more tightly they will stick together, the more tightly they are going to stick together. Your hands are completely joined together, glued very tightly, fused together, one. They are completely joined together, two. In your imagination you can see them as a compact block, fused together, three. Try to separate them. The more you try, the more fused they are. The more they are glued together, completely unite and glued. The more you try to separate them, the more intensely they are glued, the more they are fused together. Once we pronounce the number 3, we must besiege the subject with a rain of suggestions that block the act of separating his hands. These suggestions must be made with practically no pauses between them, not allowing the subject to react. When the subject is surprised at the impossibility of separating his hands, it is time to offer him a reasonable way out of the psychological problem that we have generated, so that we can finally address him in the following way. Very well. Stop trying. Stop trying to separate your hands. You have already realized that it is impossible to do it. In a moment, you will be able to separate your hands. Now, you are feeling a sense of drowsiness, a very deep sleep, which is getting bigger and bigger. Your hands are going to separate. Your hands will separate as you fall deeper and deeper asleep. Only when you are deeply asleep, you will be able to separate your hands. Now you are falling asleep. You are falling deeply asleep. Your hands are loosening as you fall into a deep sleep. Very deep sleep. Your head falls forward, asleep, deeply asleep. Your hands fall farther and farther apart as you go deeper and deeper into that sleep. Now sleep, sleep, sleep. Sleep calm and relaxed, very calm, very relaxed. More and more calm and more relaxed. Coin method. This is an interesting, quick and effective technique, which can be carried out with the subject's eyes open or closed indistinctly. To carry it out, we'll place the subject seated on a chair. It can also be done with the subject standing up. But in this case, we must be attentive to the possible fall of the subject. And we'll ask him to extend his right arm towards the front, at the same time as we hand him a coin, which he must keep held inside the closed fingers of his hands. Once this is done, we will explain to you what the experience we are about to perform will consist of. First of all, you will have to focus all your attention on your thumb, without looking away from it for a second. Then, when we tell him to do so, he will open his hand, allowing the coin to fall to the ground. At that moment, that is when the coin hits the ground, his eyes will close, and he will enter a state of deep hypnotic trance. Once we have explained the mechanics of the induction to the subject, we begin the experience. Now stand with your right arm stretched out in front of you, looking at your thumb. Continue to observe and feel your thumb at the same time that you pay attention to the sensation of the coin that you have in your right hand. To enter into that stage of deep sleep that you desire, you must continue to look attentively at your finger, You are doing very well. In a moment, I will begin a count. We will concentrate on my voice. As I count to 5, keep looking at your finger fixedly. When I count 5, when I pronounce the number 5, you will open your hand and let the coin fall to the ground. When I count 5, open your hand, let the coin fall to the ground, and close your hands again, tightly, as if you are still holding the coin. At the same time this happens, your eyes will close tightly. When you hear the sound of the coin on the ground, your eyes will close tightly. Keep staring at your thumb and feel the coin inside your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release the coin. Your eyes close tightly. Squeeze your hand again, tightly. Your arm becomes stiff, very stiff, more and more stiff, as if it were made of steel. Your arm is really stiff. Now sleep. Sleep deeply. Sleep very deeply. Sleep very deeply. After the coin has fallen, we impart rapid suggestions of eye closure, catalepsy, and deep sleep, in order to further deepen the hypnotical state obtained. Wallman's gravitation technique. The answer to Erickson's levitation is the so-called Wallman gravitation method. If one intended to raise the subject's arm, it attempts the opposite, for example, to lower it. Fortunately, the gravitation technique is much easier to execute than the levitation methods. With the subject seated in a chair, we ask him to stretch his arm forward and stare at the nail of his thumb, while we address him as follows. Now, fix your gaze on your thumbnail. Watch your thumbnail attentively. As you watch it, loosen your arm and feel it getting heavy. Keep watching your thumbnail as your arm gets heavier and heavier, completely heavy. Your body also loosens. Your whole body loosens. Your whole body loosens up. Your whole body becomes slack and heavy. You can feel your body resting heavy on the surface of the chair, rested, abandoned, relaxed. Keep looking at your thumb. Have you noticed how the weight of your arm becomes more intense with each passing second? Your arm now weighs in an insistent way, irresistible, no matter how hard you try to hold it up. It is inevitable that it descends under its own weight. Your arm begins to descend. It begins to descend towards your knee. The weight is more and more intense. Your arm is getting heavier and heavier. It gets heavier and heavier. Now it descends. It descends. Your arm is falling towards your knee, and when it touches your knee, you will fall asleep, fast asleep, deeply asleep, in a very deep sleep. The arm continues to descend downwards, heavy, heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier. Now it is very close to your knee, and it continues to get heavier and heavier. It is so heavy, so tired that it falls and falls. Now it almost rests on your knee. It touches it. It already touches it. Sleep. Sleep deeply. Sleep very deeply. Sleep. Sleep. Arm levitation methods. We'll ask this subject seated in a chair or armchair to let his arm rest with his hands on his thighs. Please, I would like you to exert as much force as possible with your legs, making an effort to step onto the floor, harder, even harder, much harder, even more, as if you want to push your feet through the floor, harder. Exert as much pressure on the floor as you can. Press harder and harder. Perhaps as you continue to exert more and more intense pressure on the floor, you will notice that you are accumulating more and more pressure on the floor. You may release that you are accumulating an enormous amount of tension. Your legs are twitching from the effort. Continue to press down hard. Watch your fingers as they are loaded with tension as you press down hard. Continue to press down hard on the floor. You know that the opposite of the feeling of tension you experience in your fingers is relaxation. Now you have learned something. The opposite of the tension you experience is the relaxation you will experience. Although you will only experience relaxation during the course of this session, although you have yet to notice what is happening in your hands and what I am going to make you notice. Now, the moment you want to relax, it is going to be very simple. All you have to do is to imagine that the fingers of one of your hands, whichever you prefer, whichever you decide, is becoming very, very light and light. Remember, the opposite of tension is relaxation. If you wish to relax, in that case you will feel that one of the fingers of your right or left hand becomes lighter than the others. As it becomes lighter and lighter, perhaps it begins to rise into the air. One of the fingers of your right hand or of your left hand will start to move, even if it is imperceptibly, maybe a little shudder. Which finger will move first? It could be the middle finger, or the ring finger, the little finger, the index finger, or the thumb perhaps. Any one of them can start to move at any time, although you may perceive sensations in the fingers of your hands. You may also ignore which of your fingers will move first. Yes, the index or thumb, middle, ring, pinky of your right or left hand. It has moved. It trembles and moves. Concentrate all your attention on that hand now. It is very possible that this small movement of your index finger will be accentuated. When it moves again, you will observe a very interesting thing. Slowly the space between your fingers will start to widen. The fingers will separate. Very slowly they will open, as if they were a fan. More and more open. They will open more and more. As they continue to spread apart, you will notice that they tend to arch, as if they want to lift, as if they want to lose contact with the leg. Your toes are getting lighter and lighter, light, and they are arcing, they are curling. Your index finger is rising. It is moving away from your leg, and the other fingers of your hand seems to follow. They are rising, light and airy. They are rising and slowly losing contact with your leg. As your fingers lift, you experience a great feeling of lightness throughout your hands. It begins to rise, light as a feather, as if you were carrying a helium balloon tied to your wrists, a big balloon that propels your hands upwards. Look closely at your hands, watch it rise, light, lighter and lighter, as if it were a hand floating in the vacuum of space. Light, lighter and lighter, as if it were a hand floating in the vacuum of space. Notice how it floats, light like a feather. It continues to rise, higher and higher, and behind it, the arm also rises. Your whole arm is as light as the hand, and it floats, as if it were in the vacuum. Keep looking at your hands. Do you feel the great relaxation you experience throughout your body? The arm rises higher and higher, up, up, up. As your arm rises higher and higher, you begin to feel a great sense of fatigue. Your eyes are tired of watching your hands, following in this unstoppable upward journey. The arm continues ascending, and your eyes are more fatigued at every instant. Now you have the will to relax. You are very relaxed, and you're more fatigued at every instant. Slowly surrender to that feeling of peace and deep calm. You sink in such a deep relaxation that maybe you experience sensations of numbness. It is in any case a deep and pleasant feeling. Continue with your eyes fixed on your hands that keeps rising. Your eyes are tired, fatigued, and the more your hand rises, the more fatigued and tired they feel. Now you will notice that the arm will be bending as if your hand is going towards your face. Let it go. You will soon notice that the closer it gets to your face, as the hand gets closer to your face, the feeling of numbness, of drowsiness that is already taking over you is becoming more and more intense, and is transforming into a desire to sleep, to close your eyes, which feel really tired, and rest, sleep, sink deep into an intense sleep. You want to sleep, you want intensely to sleep, but stop closing your eyes until the hand touches your face. When the hand touches your face, you will fall asleep, very asleep, deeply asleep. Now the hand is very close to your face. You fall asleep, you fall deeply asleep. Now it is about to touch your face, and when it does, at that very moment, your eyes will close and you will enter into a deep sleep, while your eyelids remain firmly attached to the skin of your face. When the hand touches your face, you will sleep deeply, and your arm will fall loose and heavy, without any tension, on his lap. Stop thinking. You fall asleep, you fall asleep, you fall asleep, you fall asleep deeply, falling into a deep and relaxing sleep. If you're interested in learning more about clinical hypnosis, watch our next video, Rapid Hypnosis Induction Techniques, Part 2. Remember, read the description of this video where you can find a link to free training classes on clinical hypnosis, and also you will be able to download several free ebooks. If you have questions, add them in the comments area. On this topic and many others we'll talk about in the channel and in the videos that we'll publish. So if you're interested, do not miss our next videos. Thank you very much.